Hi everybody. Today we're looking at a TEMUR deck in Pioneer that uses Arcane Bombardment, Thousand Year Storm, and Mythos of Illuna to result in some crazy games. Now this list was contributed by one of the viewers of the channel, and the only small change I made to it after playing a few games with it was just adding another land. I think we started at 26 lands, this has 27, and I took out one copy of Genesis Ultimatum for that. So you know how Arcane Bombardment decks usually work by now. We've got our expensive 6-mana enchantment, and then we trigger it on successive turns using our cheap instants and sorceries. Well, we've got an added wrinkle here with Thousand Year Storm. So kind of the way I found that this works is once you get Bombardment down and Thousand Year Storm at the same time, you can often use Bombardment to cast a bunch of spells at once and then use that to really amp up the number of copies that you get with Thousand Year Storm. Since Thousand Year Storm doesn't work on the first instant or sorcery spell you copy because it copies it 0 times, you use Arcane Bombardment to kind of just juice that number up a little bit. Now, in theory, Genesis Ultimatum can go and find Thousand Year Storm and Arcane Bombardment for you, but I found that since it's only looking at the top 5, the few times that I was able to get it off in a game, we never found any of our enchantments that were key to that. So I think the purpose that it serves in the deck is to be discarded to big score and to be pulled up into Bombardment and kind of reused that way. You can get some crazy turns off of it just dumping a bunch of lands, which is also useful. So it's not necessarily there to enable Bombardment and Thousand Year Storm together. We often end up just hard casting one of these two on our kind of way up the chain. Now the added wrinkle in here is we've got 4 copies of Mythos of Illuna, and once you get Thousand Year Storm going, you can basically copy Arcane Bombardment or Thousand Year Storm and just really go nuts with the number of copies that you can make. Now, the primary win condition of this deck, you're looking at this and you're thinking, what the heck is the game plan here? You want to copy Play with Fire until your opponent dies. So we basically want to up our Thousand Year Storm count until we can generate enough copies of Play with Fire to kill them with just that one spell. You can also get kind of creative with Mythos of Illuna and copy a lot of our opponent's stuff. But most often we're just trying to set up our enchantments, dig for a Play with Fire, and then finish the game. And often we can just do it on the same turn once we really get the engine going between all the big scores, growth spirals, and even Genesis Ultimatum. It just all depends on what gets pulled up and what we've got in our hand. So anyway, these games were kind of nuts. Again, this isn't really a good competitive deck, but it is totally sweet. Definitely recommend it if you've already got these cards. It was super fun. So let's get over and see some of these games on the Ranked Explorer ladder. I'll stick with you for some commentary, but as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. All right, we are here with some TEMUR Thousand Year Storm Arcane Bombardment. We are in the Explorer, aka Pioneer Light format. All right, we've got a Ludovic on the other side. I'm not too familiar with Explorers, so I'm not sure exactly what this is, but let's start off and keep 2 mana open. Might need to unsubstantiate something here. Opponent gets in and mills 1, so looking like a Sultai deck over there. Opponent mills a Binding of the Old Gods. Alright, there's Bombardment. That's great. We will pay the 2 life for this and set up big score for the opponent's turn. Alright, opponent mills another card. Let's big score away one of these storms. Couple of lands. All right. Well, let's go for it. If this fails, we've got a backup storm, and if it works, we can Play with Fire. Great. Slipped right through. You never know who's got counter magic on the other side, so... That's one I've not seen before. All right. Well, we're at 10. We're going to have to start making things happen. Let's Play with Fire to the face, get the free scry. And pick up a big score, get rid of one of these lands. All right, we got another big score. Don't need this land. Opponent had to discard there. Looks like they're missing that green. Let's go ahead and get this 1,000-Year Storm online then. All right, opponent finally got their green going. Death Bonnet Sprout. All right. Ludovic coming in. Got a War Leech in the graveyard now. Very interesting. Ludovic threatening to go all the way here. Necromass. Let's just slow things down a little bit. Unsubstantiate that and get some things going here with Bombardment. Will confess I have never played these two cards together, so we'll just sort of see what happens here. Oh, all right. Already too much for the opponent. All right, let's keep this. We've got a Storm. Just need a Bombardment at some point. But even on their own, both of those enchantments are sometimes enough to just win games. Sometimes if you can land one of those and the opponent sees it, they will just scoop it on up. Red, black. Okay, we get a second World Tree, but don't need that right now. Plan is to Growth Spiral this turn. Witch's Oven. I do not miss Witch's Oven in Standard. Our opponent Deadly Disputes. We'll take this opportunity to Growth Spiral and just let them play all the triggers they want to. And there's the cat. One of the most annoying decks from Standard's past, rearing its head here in Explorer. Well, we've got our fourth land down, a pair of big scores, so that's going to help accelerate us into an early 1,000-Year Storm. Opponents starting off the cat shenanigans at the end of their turn. Sorry, the end of our turn. Cat comes back, we'll take a little damage. Forever and ever, pinging us to death, one sacrifice at a time. Ah, now that is a good card, especially against us. These big scores are going to hurt if we want to use them. Don't need the second World Tree, so we'll pitch that. Okay, well, we got both pieces here. Question is, can we survive long enough to get there? All right, we'll get this land down. Let's go for Bombardment first. Mayhem Devil's going to ping us because we sacked a treasure. Now, we may be at 15 right now, but this deck that we're facing can certainly ping us down. It doesn't look like it's going to hit you for a lot, but between all the triggers, all those 1 damage triggers start to add up after a while. So we know we're at least at 14 from sacking this other treasure if we want to play with fire. We're going to take 2 from this round of cat oven shenanigans. At least 2. They'll sacrifice the food and get another trigger, so that's another damage. Cat comes back. So you can see that's basically like a free lightning bolt from them. Now we're going to take a bit more damage here. We're targeting the cat to try and force him into a position where they have to sack the devil in order to get a food token to get it back, which they're not going to do. And just kind of slow things down a little bit. Well, we have some instants for Bombardment. Just trying to see if we can survive to get this storm down. All right, oven number 2. All right, well, there's some fodder for the oven. it was worth a shot. Opponent will sack the Witness, get a Devil trigger, see a couple of cards, and get a food token to start bringing the cats back. Well, we will unsubstantiate the Devil now since they can't afford to replay it. And again, just try to slow them down enough where they don't get all of these triggers. Looks like they're going to do another trigger on the way out for the Devil here. Oh, so many things on the stack. Probably could have played that better, but forgive me, there's a lot going on. Well, big score and growth spiral here. Couple of Mythos of Illuna. Take a couple more triggers from that. All right, Devil goes away for a little bit, and second cat comes in to bring us to 6. So we really can't afford that coming back here. But let's see what we can rig up with these cards we've got going here. So I think we want a 1,000-Year Storm. And let's trigger this now, since we can't really afford to wait around. Could possibly get some big scores going, get some more lands happening here. So the way this is going to work is it won't copy the growth spiral because that's the first. But it will copy these things that get cast by bombardment. So I think play with fire, growth spiral, and definitely big score. So big score should get copied the most. Yes. This gets very confusing, as you'll see. So, all right, there's our big scores. Lots of mana. We're going to put down some lands. More lands. And here come the 2 play with fires. So we should get 1 copy of this and then the original. Already got a Mythos. We don't need that. All right, and so these are the copies from the original bombardment trigger. Didn't I just get rid of that? Okay. Final growth spiral. And we'll just put this Triome down. That's fine. So we've got a ton of treasures, some untapped lands. Let's try this. On 1,000-Year Storm. We'll just make a bunch of copies of this. Seems fine. Now, do these know how many spells we've cast this turn? Is that like a number it knows about? We'll do a joint exploration here, draw some cards. Oh dear. Oh, I may have messed this up. I may have messed this up. This could be like an exponentially greater number of copies than I anticipated. And since these are all card draw spells, oh no, oh god. All right, well, play with fire. That's a win con. Oh jeez. Did I just mill us out of the game? Oh man. Yeah, I'm still going. Oh, thank goodness. All right, well, good game. All right. Some more TEMUR Arcane Bombardment and Explorer with 1,000-Year Storm. We've learned some lessons. We don't need quite so many 1,000-Year Storms. All right, we'll start it off, get these growth spirals going. Ramp it on up so we can get to 6 as soon as possible. Opponent on something with green and black. Well, let's do a kicked joint exploration. Just make the best use of our mana here. I think that's okay to keep. And we'll just put that down. Don't need to pay for it. Alternatively, I guess we could have growth spiral there and kept something up, but it's fine. All right, land from us. Fabled Passage from the opponent. What is going on over there? Okay. Dollhouse is such a fun card. Let's see what you got cooking over there. We're going to kick this joint exploration. No lands. Let's try to luck into a land off the top here. Excellent. And we'll growth spiral just because we can. All right. Well, we're at 7. 7 mana, that is. Opponent's tapped out. I say we just go for bombardment, and we can activate it with a play with fire. Ooh, binding. Yeah, okay. Yep, you win this round, opponent. All right, well, you got one for this? Opponent gets a land. Innkeeper will give them a treasure and some life gain triggers going. Ah, there we go. Scute Swarm. It's all coming together. Explains the Fabled Passages a little better. Let's big score here. 1,000-Year Storm triggers but doesn't do anything yet. Get that second tree down. We could play with fire and it would copy that once. And I think that's what we need to do here just to stem the tide of the Scute Swarm. Alright, opponent brings back the swarm using the dollhouse. They will get a trigger, so now they have a pair. They will deadly dispute the treasure. Pick up a couple of cards here. The good news is we can maybe unsubstantiate these tokens and get rid of them for good. We just don't want to get in a situation where they've got too many scutes to control. All right, just a land, so we're going to have to lay bombardment here. And we've got enough to do both of these on successive turns, so let's unsubstantiate a token just to activate bombardment here. All right, opponent disputes the token in response, but we got what we came for, and that's activating our enchantments. All right, so we should get a few copies of Play with Fire off of the Storm. 1 copy. Okay. Ooh. Well, that's a big spell, and it activates Bombardment. Let these resolve. All right. And let's keep this. If we ever pick up a big score, we'll need a land to discard. All right, Stitcher Supplier. Likely trying to put something a little better in the graveyard there for the dollhouse. What did they get here? Okay, a harpooner. That's not that bad. We'll take the hit from that. All right. Well, this is a good enough sorcery to activate Bombardment with, so... Well, actually, no, if we unsubstantiate first... See, this is very tricky. If we unsubstantiate first, like that's the first spell, right? It'll activate Bombardment and juice it up a little bit. So we'll get 2 spells here. So then when we cast Genesis... Hold on. Complicated targeting. All right, let's just get through these. Hold on a sec. A little bit of scrying. I mean, sure, in case they get rid of the first one. All right, so now when we cast Genesis Ultimatum, it should have multiple copies thanks to everything that just happened on the stack. All right, there's a Mythos as well. Let's just go for this ultimatum. I think I've learned my lesson with Mythos. Okay, so we've got... we're casting this 4 times. Let's see what we find. All right, land, land, land. And a couple of lands. All right, final copy. A second. All right. Good game. All right, we've got TEMUR Arcane Bombardment here. None of our titular enchantments in the opening hand, but if we can ramp fast enough, we could potentially grab one. Oh, and there it is. Never mind. All right, well, since we have Bombardment, I think the plan is Growth Spiral here. Get a land into play. We can eventually big score and probably dump this Genesis Ultimatum into the graveyard to be picked up later on. Could also put us in a nice spot with these treasures to just accelerate into Bombardment. If we get a land off the top, we can do Play with Fire. It was not to be. All right, well, we got 2 bombardments. Let's just go for it. This isn't standard. There's a lot more variety here. We don't know if they've got a counter or not. All right, just a Prismari command. That was close. All right. All right, they'll do some draw and discard and grab a treasure. Fabled Passage. Let's see. Invoke Despair they could be hiding. Oh, Widespread Thieving. Okay. That's kind of a fun card. Alright, opponent doing a Croxa here, so we'll discard once the smoke clears. Let's see, we've got a big score and a Genesis Ultimatum. Let's get rid of this. Not sure we need a second one right now. There's just not that many spells in our graveyard. Alright, let's Joint Exploration. That'll give us a free activation. Growth Spiral. Okay. It was like, what, 30% to pick up Genesis Ultimatum there. And we'll keep this untapped. Oh, there's another Ultimatum. Alright, well, at least we're ramping up on lands. We got an Ultimatum on top. Instance to activate our enchantment on the opponent's turn. Okay, Nicol Bolas. That gives them a treasure, but they can't activate it right away. Tell you what, let's buy us a little more time here. Try and return that to their hand. There we go. All right, we pick up Genesis Ultimatum. Oh, okay. Opponent doesn't even want to see. Good game. All right. 1,000-Year Storm, TEMUR, Arcane Bombardment. What a mouthful. We're looking to ramp up in the early couple of turns, see if we can't get to 6 mana as quick as possible, and then we're off to the races, copying as many spells as we can. A growth spiral in here lets us keep up play with fire. Corpse Knight from the opponent. Well, let's go ahead and get rid of that. Alright, World Tree, that's fine. Missing a big score at this point, so it looks like we're just working our way up the mana chain. Opponent gets in for 1. Follows up with nothing. Well, that's great for us. Let's go ahead and get this down. See if we can dodge some removal from the opponent. Alright, well, they get a land, but it's tapped, so they'll get in for another 1. Alright, Joint Exploration. Let's go see what we can find off the top here. Big score and a land. Well, we'll put this into play. And let's make a couple of copies of this. Why not? Oh, okay. Good game. All right, we are back with TEMUR, Arcane Bombardment, 1,000-Year Storm. Let's put back this Unsubstantiate. This is a good hand for ramping up into an early enchantment. As I learned in our last game, sometimes we don't even have to have the combo. If we just copy a few 1,000-Year Storms, that's the intimidation factor. Ooh. Cemetery Gatekeeper, but there's nothing in the graveyard yet, so it's just a 2/1 first striker. Definitely get this land into play. Off of Growth Spiral. Excellent. Set up for big score here. Let's do that while they're tapped out. Just in case they're running any kind of counter magic. Opponent Corpse Appraiser, but no creatures anywhere yet. Just a 3/3 for 3. And we'll take 2 from that vampire. Alright, well, let's get one of these down. Time for Arcane Bombardment. No threat of Invoke Despair yet. Unless they have that black card that makes us sacrifice an enchantment for 2. Is that another vampire? Oh, 1,000-Year Storm as well? Well, I'm not sure we can really survive if we do that. So let's try and control the board a little bit while we're here. And see what we get with Bombardment. And because we can, I think we want to pay with red and green. Alright, just a Growth Spiral. So, oh. Probably should have copied the bigger creature, the Atrata. Oh well. I'm sure it'll be fine. What could go wrong? Alright, Etrata exiles. At least takes care of itself. And of course they have another one. Alright. Well, let's play with Fire the Face and see what we can pull up into Bombardment. Excellent. Growth Spiral and Big Score should be nice. We don't need this second Bombardment. Get a couple of treasures and put one of these lands down. Don't need another land. Alright, just a joint exploration here. So, I think if we get this down... Yeah, let's get this down and activate Bombardment, which should populate Thousand Year Storm with enough copy ability to do some things. That's the technical term, things. Alright, so let's cast all these. Get rid of... Let's get rid of Big Score. Alright, so we get the most copies of Big Score, and then less copies as we kind of move our way through the stack. Alright, a couple of copies of Growth Spiral. We'll put some lands into play. Good, and finally one joint exploration. Don't think we need another storm, so we'll put those to the bottom. Alright. We'll just put more land into play. Joint exploration goes off. Get rid of those lands. And then finally, the original joint exploration. Get rid of those lands. Alright. Now, I think what we want to do here, this should give us enough mana to do whatever we want and hopefully find a Play with Fire. Or we could just Growth Spiral. Too many cards. Alright, so that was what, 5 copies of that? So we've got a little ways to go if we want to Play with Fire this person out of the game. And yeah, let's put some lands into play. And I think Growth Spiral is going to prevent us from at least decking ourselves, since if we don't put the things into play with Genesis Ultimatum, they go to our hand. So we're essentially taking 5 cards off the top with each copy of that. And that would have been, what, at least 25, 30 cards altogether? Not the safest route. Plus we have the ability to... Man, that's a lot of copies. Plus we have the ability to just keep casting these singular Growth Spirals, getting crazy amount of things on the stack until we find a Play with Fire to end the game. Alright, so that's 7 copies. Keep putting these lands into play. We have a Play with Fire now, but we got to get through this stack first. Another Play with Fire, excellent. So what we can do is Play with Fire, and this might be enough. I'll have to see how many copies we get. But if it's not, we got tons of mana, and we've got another Play with Fire, so... There's another one. So as long as we don't time out, I think we're in good shape. Opponent's being very patient with us. Thank you. Alright. And I think we are... Oh, we're 1 short. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to have to make them... Okay. Well, let's... I know we've got one. There it is. Let's go ahead and play with fire one more time. And I have to select targets for all the copies. I'm sorry, opponent, but thank you for letting us do this. And after way too many copies, good game.